live on YouTube, streaming live on YouTube. Now, maybe it will play. So I'll just select play from start, as I don't think the last one was playing.
Today on Rescue 911, an empty drainage ditch quickly fills with a torrent of water, washing away a young girl in its fury.
I thought, my God, she won't make it.
And a young boy's heroic efforts could be her only chance at life. Plus, when carbon monoxide gas takes its toll on a family of 10, one call could make the difference on Rescue 911.
The greatest achievement possible is to save someone's life. By doing so, we're giving other human beings a second chance to pursue their hopes and dreams. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of compassion, strength, and courage under pressure on Rescue 911. We begin on September 16th, 1991, after a series of heavy rainstorms passed through the city of Arlington, Texas. As the weather cleared, 10-year-old Kamisha Riddle and her friend Ginger Garland headed outside to play.
These storm drains are extremely dangerous because they can fill up very rapidly and they're extremely hard to get in and out of. It occurs occasionally that it'll be raining upstream from you and it'll even be clear overhead. You won't even see a cloud. And it just takes a few moments for it to fill up.
My mom said don't go down in the creek because you could get hurt. But we were going to some girl's house. Then she said, let's go into the creek because it's easier to get to that girl's house. I didn't think anything could happen because it didn't look like anything could happen. The water started getting higher. And it was scaring me. She was saying, help me, pull me up quick.
Naomi Stevens and her 15-year-old son Jeff were in their backyard when they heard the cries for help.
At first when I heard it, I thought, well, it's just somebody playing. But then in your mind, you wonder, no, that's not it. It was somebody was in trouble. When we made eye contact, I think I felt just sheer terror. And the expression on her face, I don't think I'll ever forget. And my feeling of helplessness, not being able to do anything.
Fire department.
Naomi called 911.
360. 360 is what? Ma'am, I've got to know where it's at. Okay. I live at 31 Providence. Okay. 360 behind your house. How old is it? I don't have any idea. I just heard a child screaming. I heard a child running down the street. Okay, you did see the child in your street. Okay. Did it look like a small child or an older? Probably about 10. Don't let anybody get in there with them or we'll have more people to get out. Okay, bye. All right, bye.
Neighbors Rick and Janice Cook spotted Jeff as he ran by their house.
I know he's in athletics. We just assumed he was racing until his mom ran out the front door. I was running down the street. I was hoping and praying that I'd get down there in time, that I could do something. And I was thinking, I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna make it.
When we continue,
It goes completely under the freeway. With the water moving as fast as it was, I didn't think we'd have time to get to her before she went under.
All right now, Get TV fans, don't be left in the dark. Get on over to our online TV schedule so you'll always know what's on next. That's www.get.tv. Now don't let me down now.
Are you one of the millions who need high-speed, reliable home internet?
Did you come? Gotta go get your homework done.
Riddle was swept away by a flash flood while walking in a concrete drainage canal near her house. When a 15-year-old boy heard her cries for help, he and some neighbors set out to try and rescue the young girl before she drowned in the swirling water.
When the creek gets to the 360 intersection, there's 4 large culverts that it's divided into, and it goes completely under the freeways. You can't, even on a bright day, stand on one side of the creek and look and see daylight out the other side. With the water moving as fast as it was, I didn't think we'd have time to get to her before she went under.
Rescuers with the Arlington Fire Department had no way of knowing where the girl was in the storm drain.
I didn't jump in after her because the water's moving too fast, and where I probably would have either pulled her under or she would pull me under.
And when I get down there, he says, she's already gone under. I thought, my God, she won't make it.
At that point, I didn't think we'd find her alive. There was just too much water, and with the dark in there, I'm afraid she had panicked, and that would have been it. I just kind of figured the best place to go would be the last place where she would have to go through.
By this time I was crying because thinking about the mother of that child. How was she gonna feel? What if something did happen? What if they didn't get there quick enough? What if they couldn't pull her out? And it was a very emotional time.
I see her, they're here.
I don't know what she was holding on to, but she was screaming, help me, I can't hold on much longer. There was just no way you could reach her. I mean, it's just too far away. At that point, that's when I told Jeff, I said, well, just let me grab hold of your arm and let me lower you down. She was just in panic. There was just sheer terror on her face. She kind of grabbed a hold of my wrist, and it was a big relief. When we picked her up, and actually I was carrying her, she was still hollering for someone to get her out. She was hollering for help to get her out. So she was just in total hysterics. I had concerns that she had some sort of internal injuries, but I knew I had to keep her as quiet as possible, as still as possible.
Hearing the sound of sirens, Rick drove toward them and managed to get the attention of one of the rescue units. When the young girl's mother, Claudia Riddle, was rushed to the scene, she had no idea what condition her daughter was in.
The ambulance had shut its doors and started to pull away real slow.
Ambulance, over to the right.
I started to panic, and I ran up to the side of the ambulance, and one of the paramedics came out, and I was screaming and crying by then, and he said, "Mrs. Riddle, calm down. We need to talk to you." And I thought something had happened to him. And he opened the door. And, "Hi, Mom, look, I've got Snoopy Band-Aids."
Although the swift-moving waters carried 10-year-old Kenesha down the concrete ditch for several miles, she suffered only minor bruises.
At one part, I just sat there and gave up. Just hope I died because it was scary and I already thought I was gonna die, so there's no use trying anymore. I think Jeff is a hero because he saved me.
I learned that I'm able to do things that I didn't think that I would ever do. I'm so glad I found out that I'd be able to help somebody when they need me.
I thought I was gonna get my butt
She's
busted
doing gymnastics.
because I knew I was not supposed to play in the creek, and I did. I think it was dumb.
I have learned not to take things for granted anymore. Because when you come that close to losing somebody you love, it makes you stop and think and appreciate things.
Next,
It was important to keep the kids moving. They kept saying, I can't. And we said, you've got to. This is your life.
I don't hear nothing, Jane.
Attention citizens, buddies and minutes to get your free hair loss guide. It will tell you what you
comprehensive information about hair.
Callers will also receive $250 off the
Going it strong. Knowing I look good makes me feel more
of the house.
I woke about 6 o'clock, just before my alarm.
That morning, their 8 adopted children were at home, asleep in their rooms on the top floor of the house.
I woke about 6 o'clock, just before my alarm was to go off, to the sound of a thud upstairs. Thought perhaps this was one of our restless children who had fallen out of bed. But immediately after that, there was another thud and some crying, and I thought I had to investigate that. By the time I reached the top of the steps, I saw Chuck lying face down in the bathroom. Chuck? What's wrong? Dana? Come on. Dana, you two, let's get going. Let me help you.
No, I can't.
You can walk. Come on. Atta girl. I saw Tina in the hall, and I asked her how she was doing, and she said she was sick too.
I don't feel so good either.
My thinking at that time was basically that several kids had the flu, and it isn't unusual to have 3 or 4 kids at a time be sick in our household. A couple of the kids are sick upstairs. I think they have the flu.
I told Tom that I just couldn't get up then because I just felt too nauseated.
I'll take care of it. I was trying to think through what might be going on. Why would so many family members be sick?
Tom, a physician, went to get some Tylenol.
When I got back upstairs, I found Jason lying on the hallway floor. Jason! It was at this point that I really became concerned. Christina! Christina! And I thought there was more to this perhaps than just the flu.
Thinking there might be a gas leak, Tom went to the basement to check the heaters.
We hadn't been using our pool for about 2 months, but the burner seemed to be going full blast, and I couldn't turn it off. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that heater shouldn't have been on like that. At this point, I felt a little woozy. But as soon as I felt that myself, I became convinced that we were probably poisoned by carbon monoxide.
At 7:05 a.m., a call came into the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department.
This is Dr. Tom Lang. Yes, sir. All of us woke up sick this morning. There's a family of 10. Okay, what do you think the problem is? They think it's carbon monoxide. They call it Ramsey Poison Control Center. Okay, so how sick is the sickest person there? We have coordination problems, and they asked us all to come into the gear. I have a van, but I don't think I can drive. Okay, Mr. Lang, what I do, get my children down from upstairs. Can you keep them awake, and we'll send somebody over? Thank you. All right.
It was important to keep the kids moving and crawling and getting down to the fresh air, because as long as they stayed where they weren't going to be safe.
After my dad had called 911, I was wondering if they were going to be there in time in order to save us. So all you're thinking at that moment is, am I going to survive? Are we going to survive as a family?
Rescue units were immediately dispatched, including paramedic Denise DeMars.
Carbon monoxide poisoning is real serious, and it's a cumulative thing. You can get more and more and more, and if you don't get rid of it, you can go into respiratory arrest, cardiac arrest, and you will die from it.
Cindy, come on, you can do it, can't you?
The kids were so sick, we were so sick, you can't stand up, you can't move.
Jerry, okay?
Mobilizing those kids when they're that way. You hardly have the strength, but yet you know you have to do it. It's like being in a fire, you've got to move. They kept saying, I can't, and we said, you've got to, this is your life.
Because of the large number of victims, extra rescue units were sent. Within 10 minutes of the call, rescue workers, including Fire Chief Joel Hewitt, began arriving at the scene.
I immediately got out of the truck with my personnel and I told them to go and systematically search the house from the north end to the south end, looking in the closets, under the beds, in the bathrooms, wherever a person could be. They were all in different stages of consciousness. Some were vomiting, some had severe headaches. We had just a steady stream of people, firefighters coming down the stairs with victims in their arms.
We knew we were in a race against time. We still had to get them to the hospital fast. We had to treat them fast, because if the carbon monoxide isn't cleared from the system, they could have come out with permanent brain damage or permanent damage to the respiratory system or their hearts. These kids were not out of the woods, even though they were out of the house. My job was to try and assess all 10 people at once, see who was the worst. I had them all look at me and said, raise your hand if you think you have to throw up. Raise your hand if you have a headache. That's when I knew that the person who raised their hand all 3 questions was probably in a lot more trouble than the one who only had 2 or maybe 1 symptom. Immediately we routed them to the Hennepin County Medical Center because they have a decompression chamber there. And then the people who were slightly less affected went first to the Ramsey County Medical Center.
I thought that all of us could have lost our lives within minutes, perhaps seconds. It was just too close.
All 10 family members were treated and released without any sign of permanent injury. Tom and Ginny were treated in the emergency room by Dr. John McGill.
Carbon monoxide poisoning is known as a silent killer. It's colorless, odorless, and tasteless. And if it had occurred early in the night, they may have slept into unconsciousness and death. So I think they're all lucky to be alive.
An investigation showed that the heat exchanger on the pool furnace had corroded, causing dangerous gases to back up inside the house.
If you think that you are suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning, the absolute first thing to do is get out of the area that you're in. The second is to call 911 or certainly get to the hospital for evaluation.
A month after the incident, the memories of that morning are still vivid for the whole Lang family.
My dad helped us through it all. If he hadn't gone down and checked on the furnace and realized what was going on, I probably would have died.
Way to go! Way to steer, Dana!
I've learned from this experience that we are very vulnerable to our environment, and I hope in some way that my family can be spokespeople for the silent killer that carbon monoxide is.
Holy cow! Oh, I can't believe it.
The rescuers that were here that morning, I'm telling you, I was ready to hug every one of them. They went to their job and they did a superb job. I get goose pimples when I say that because they're great. They're great. They're fantastic.
I think definitely the incident has brought us closer together as a family. It's really, really scary to think that we could have all died that morning, you know?
Okay, I'm gonna put one more episode of Rescue 911. That episode actually didn't record on my DVR because it didn't have enough room, but I was still able to watch it. I think I'll do balcony fall and 911 bank capture. A teenager falls 25 feet from a balcony. A bank robber holds two tellers hostage.
Today on Rescue 911, a risky escape plan for a wild night on the town turns deadly.
Help me! I'm slipping!
When a teenage girl plunges 4 stories to the sidewalk.
It was like a horror movie right in front of my eyes.
I expected to be a DOA when we got there.
Plus, a bank heist accelerates into a high-speed manhunt.
It went from cool and calm into where this guy's gonna hurt somebody.
On Rescue 911.
On April 10th, 1992, 16-year-old Andrea Jones and her best friend Rachel Coates were enjoying their last night of spring vacation in the resort town of Gulf Shores, Alabama. Andrea's parents had set a midnight curfew, so around 11:45, the two girls returned to their family's rented condo.
That night we met some teenage guys and they're really nice and they ended up inviting us to their condo later on. So we knew that we wanted to sneak out. No, I don't, sorry. I can change.
I heard the girls come in. I went to the room and they were both undressing. At least I thought they were.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired. We just pretended we were getting ready for bed and stuff.
We've got to get them.
But how are we gonna get out? I mean, we can't go out the phone. What if Mama hear us?
I don't think she'll hear us.
Yeah, she'd hear a pin drop.
Great. We have to meet them.
I know.
Hey, Endo. Andrea kind of looks at me and said, do you think that we can scale the wall? And instantly I thought that, that'd be cool, because Andrea and I never did anything really exciting or like rebellious. It's not as hard as it looks. I wanted to go before Andrea because I was taller, and I thought I can probably touch the balcony first and make sure that everything's safe.
Kristen Kuhn and her girlfriends were also renting a vacation condo.
We saw some feet coming down the balcony and were surprised. I mean, you're not expecting to see somebody climbing down your balcony at midnight.
Hey, I'm one leg. Don't wiggle so much. I can't hold on to you because you're wiggling. Andrea, stop kicking. Grab me. Hold on to you. Grab me. I'm slipping.
When she hit, it was like she had no bones in her body. I wanted to jump right down after her. I never felt so alone in my whole life.
A call for help sent rescue units to the scene, including paramedic Charles Ingram.
When I heard this person had fallen from 4 floors, we immediately requested a helicopter before we left the station here. I didn't expect this person to be alive. I expected him to be a DOA when we got there.
When we continue,
Words can't describe what it's like to see your child suffering. And all I kept thinking was, please God, take care of her and keep her alive.
Our pal Walker has some new buddies he wants you to meet.
If you're not going to use it. Now over $8,000. The Open Care prescription discount card. Call 800-27...
Can you hear me? I thought that she was dead, and it hurt a lot to think about her parents, and how was I going to explain this, Horror movie, right in front of my eyes.
Hide in their wake. Beauty voids for the rest of us to fill.
Hide in Cleveland. Weeknights at 6 p.m. Eastern on Get TV.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Her head was tilted to the side, and there was blood coming from behind her ear, and her eyes were bulging out of her head. It was like a horror movie, right in front of my eyes, and I just couldn't believe it was real.
Can you hear me?
I thought that she was dead, and it hurt a lot to think about her parents, and how was I going to explain this, We did this for a bunch of guys.
Hold tight. Your nights are going to be here soon.
within 5 minutes of the call, the Gulf Shores Fire Department arrived, led by paramedic Corporal Mitchell Sims.
In my experience with patients who have fallen, the outcome is usually very poor.
Trying to fight us. We're trying to help you, okay? Trying to fight us, ma'am. Can you hear me at all?
Time is so critical with a trauma patient because with the brain swelling from the injury, there can be irreversible brain damage.
Andrea's parents, Kathy and Jerry Jones, rushed down to the scene as soon as they were told about the accident.
Words can't describe what it's like to see your child suffering and in pain the way she was suffering. And all I kept thinking was please God, take care of her and keep her alive.
Deep in my heart, I did not believe this girl was going to make it. I looked at one of the guys on the ambulance and told him that her mother's heart was probably going to be broken tonight.
Andrea was taken by Life Flight helicopter to Baptist Hospital, where a trauma team awaited her arrival, led by emergency physician James Leaker.
Apparently she landed right on her head.
And that kind of impact is an incredible force, and my initial thoughts were, well, this is a young 16-year-old who won't go back home.
She's got some lacerations on the back. Donna, we want to intubate this lady.
Among those treating Andrea was emergency nurse Donna Russell.
She was doing what we call posturing, which is indicative of brain damage.
Protect your airway. We gotta go.
Very rarely do people with this kind of an injury survive. And in our hearts, we felt she was going to die.
Complete x-rays and a CAT scan were taken.
I was amazed. It looked like the only injury that she had was her head. I was also very discouraged because her head injury did appear to be quite severe.
Over the next 12 hours, Andrea's condition deteriorated as her brain continued to swell. In an effort to relieve the pressure on her brain, doctors decided to perform an unusual emergency procedure and remove part of her skull.
This was a last-ditch effort. The chances of survival in a person that has this degree of injury, very, very, very small.
It may sound silly, but I just kept thinking, fix her up and I'm going to take her home. It wasn't until one of the doctors said, I don't want to have to ask you this question, but I'm required by law. And he said, I may come back to you at a later point in time and ask you if you'd be willing to donate any of your daughter's organs. And it wasn't until then that I realized how serious Andrea was and that she could die.
She's gonna have some tubes in front of us.
Okay. We followed the nurse into Andrea's room. And we saw her laying in bed, and she was laying perfectly still.
Andrea.
All I kept thinking about was, please wake up so that I can talk to you again.
Andrea remained in a coma for a week.
On Easter Sunday, one of her nurses came up to us and said, I think I have the best Easter gift I could ever give you. We walked into her room, and they had her sitting up in a chair. Shortly thereafter, she was walking down the halls, joking with the nurses, complaining about the food.
In the 6 months since the accident, Andrea's friend Rachel has struggled to come to grips with what happened that night.
Rachel feels so guilty right now, and that's why she stays away a little bit.
It's been hard for me, even now, to deal with everything. We're not as close as we used to be. I wish that we were. If I could take back that day, I'd give everything I own to have things back the way they were.
I didn't become queen, homecoming queen. This is I'm Apple Queen.
I really want to be her friend so much again, you know. And I think she needs me as a friend again to let her know that I am okay. I've learned to think before I do things because you're hurting people that really do love you. You're hurting them and you're hurting yourself, and you're missing life.
I want to thank the people that gave their prayers and best wishes to us. I just want to thank them all.
Here we go.
I'm a very lucky lady to have my daughter back with me. Every day I cherish that I can see her, that I can talk to her, and know that she is still part of our family.
We're good now. Smile for Dad now. I don't want to cork. Yeah, here it is.
Next.
You fear for these people. If this guy's gonna rob a bank during the day with a gun, he'll do anything.
Garage door openers.
Ceiling fans and more.
Even. Medicare rules have changed for 2020, and you may now qualify for a plan. Thousands of dollars in dental, vision, and hearing allowance.
I turned around and I saw Lynn with a customer. Lynn had just got there. She'd only been working with us for about a week.
I'm gonna shoot her.
He made the remark to Lynn that he wouldn't kill me, he would shoot me, so I would ask her, why did I let it happen?
Don't look at me.
showed the girl something, but I don't know what it was. Stay on, don't say anything.
Jacksonville Sheriff's Dispatcher Robert Toland handled the call.
If he had a gun, it increased the chances of anyone in the bank being shot. And that was the last thing I wanted to hear in my ear, was a gunshot going off, while this guy was in the bank robbing it.
Andy Franklin happened to stop by the bank at the same time to cash a check.
I was wondering why he hadn't moved up to the window, because there was 3 windows open. And the girl, she says, "Please don't shoot me, I just work here." So I figured this guy cannot realize that I'm here. And I thought, if this guy turns around, sees me with my phone, he's gonna think I'm a cop, he's gonna shoot me. So I backed up.
Empty your drawer into that bag.
We had a telephone out on the back of the station, and I could see that it was going underneath the station, so I knew somebody was on the phone. And I thought that this guy was going to see the same thing I was seeing. At that point, I got really scared.
Thank you.
Wayne Carter was making a deposit with the teller at the bank's drive-through window.
And as I was leaving, she blew her breath into the mic and she mouthed the words, "We're being robbed." She didn't want to let on to him that she had told me anything, and I didn't want to let on that she had.
Hello? I'm still here. I'm not going to leave you. Yes, I'm at the bank on Santa Boulevard. I think it's being robbed. Hey, do you see anything going on? Do you see anybody in there? One of the girls at the bank here is with
Dispatcher Heather Spearman took the second call.
I was sitting next to Robert and knew that a bank was being robbed at that time. He was pretty wired.
I'm at a mobile phone. The bank at Hartley Road and Santa Boulevard is being robbed. Okay, you want to look up if you're not scared. I want you to stay safe, okay? That's the most important thing. I'm still here. I'm not going to leave you. He's coming out.
She was getting hysterical. He looked over at us, and I thought, boy, I'm going to get shot because of her, because she's hysterical here.
Okay, he's going out the door. What is he wearing? What is he wearing? He just robbed the bank. He's walking out. He's got a white jacket on. Tell me, sir, listen to me. What color shirt? He did have a gun? Blue jeans. You know he's got a gun? He told the girl at the counter he would shoot her. Just a second, I'll tell you where he's going.
Yeah, you fear for these people going after these suspects because you've got a lot of wannabe police officers. If this guy's going to rob a bank during the day with a gun, he'll do anything. And what would stop him from firing a bullet? Nothing.
I was looking to see if he ran across the parking lot anyplace, and I didn't see anyone. And then as I reached the end of the office building, I looked into the bushes. He looked right at me. I just casually looked over there, pretending like it was just something that didn't concern me.
Yes. Where is he now? He's going across the parking lot. He's getting into a car.
I'm afraid for this guy because he's out in full plain view. If he can see this guy, obviously this guy can see him talking on a phone.
Robbery operator. I'm following the You're following the suspect. He's in a blue, and he's getting in. He's fixing to leave. He has
Blue what? Blue what? He's in a blue what?
blue Oldsmobile, looks like, with a white top.
You got a tag number?
I can't see him. I don't have any weapon or anything.
Where did it happen now? Where's this?
He's pulling out beside me now. I'll try to get the tag number as he goes by.
Just a second, sir. Where did it
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
That's a Mississippi tag. 1, A is an apple, N, Z, 591.
591.
He's pulling out towards Santa Fe Boulevard from the shopping center.
Okay, just one second. That's Mississippi tag?
Yes, the Mississippi tag.
Sir. See anything else?
Okay, the hat and the jacket are here.
Which way is he going?
He's still in the shopping center. If you can get a policeman in here, I'll got him. But I don't have anything to stop him with.
Stay on the line and be very quiet.
Okay? Here's your policeman right now.
Okay, just a second, sir.
All right, I've got him. He's right here. Tell this man to come in. Right here. Right here. Hey! He's got him.
He's got him?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you
I
for
don't know
calling.
what's going to happen.
All right, thanks for calling.
The police are here. I just saw a blue car take out and go down this way. The car? He dropped the hat.
The car? Are the police there with you?
Police are here with me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Among the officers who responded was Sheriff's Deputy Henry Skinner.
He made like he was getting off as a regular stop. And I got the microphone, PA mic in my hand to tell him to put his hands on the windshield. And I never got it out. He kind of caught me off guard. And at that point, the complexion of the situation changed completely. It went from cool and calm to where this guy's going to hurt somebody. And he doesn't care who he's going to hurt.
Motorcycle Officer Tom Buck joined the chase.
I'm just wanting to get it over with because he's starting to scare me. He starts fumbling around under the seat. And I know from my experience that at 100 miles an hour, he's not looking for his driver's license and vehicle registration. So I made a decision at that time that I was going to shoot. Brake lights come back on again. The vehicle comes to a stop. I was mad. I was scared. This was fast. This was pumped up. You know, he was wanting to hurt me.
Get in the car. Put your hands down.
And it didn't matter who got in his way.
The suspect was subsequently convicted of armed robbery and aggravated assault and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Nearly 2 years later, the people who got involved that day finally got a chance to meet each other.
And to me, it was great. You know, it's like everybody worked together, everything just happened to click. So he was doomed from the start, it seems like. Don't put yourself in danger. Do what you think you need to do to help the police, but never put yourself in danger. It's not worth it. It's not your money. No amount of money in the world is worth your life.
Meow. For more full Rescue 911 videos, hit the big red button and subscribe. Peace out, YouTube. Now, I will